Hello, welcome to Sound Waves. I'm your host, Kevin Martin. We have something a little different planned for our program tonight. We'll be hearing the sounds of the Delay Tactics collaboration, a three-man band from St. Louis. They've just released their first album, Out Pop Options, and most of what they'll be playing tonight is from that album. In a little while, we'll have a chance to talk to the band, but first, Delay Tactics. That's a number called Symbolia. Like all of Delay Tactics material, it's an original number composed by the band members. Walt Whitney is Delay Tactics synthesizer player, Carl Weingarten plays guitar, and David Udell plays guitar and bass. The band is now setting up for their next number, Antarctica. We're here with three members of Delay Tactics, Carl Weingarten, Walt Whitney, and David Udell. I mentioned earlier in the show that Out Pop Options was the first Delay Tactics record, but that's actually misleading. Isn't it true that David, you and Carl were involved in a recording project before this?
A couple of years ago, I was working with a gentleman named Gail Ormiston on some electronic music, and we needed to work with a guitarist. A guitarist would provide an edge to that kind of sound, and I'd seen David performing with his band, so I gave him a call, and he came to some of the sessions and recorded it, and the album is called Submergings.
David, you're the guitarist in the band Wax Theatrics. That band seems to have a different edge to it than the Delay Tactics.
The idea is a little different than with Delay Tactics. With my band Wax Theatrics, when we create something, it's our imagination and creativity, and we try to take it as far as it can go, and we try to realize it somehow, like in the studio. With this band, we work within the framework of our limitations. We have a lower budget, we have smaller equipment. We're working with 4 channels with the albums, for instance.
Both of you are essentially pop bands, which makes me think of the title of this album, which is Out Pop Options. What is it that Out Pop refers to?
Out Pop is an effort to describe the music, which is pop music, but it has a very avant-garde flavor. It's to most listeners, it would sound somewhat experimental, mainly because of the amount of synthesizers. It's options because there's a lot of variety on the album. It's not the same thing track to track. There's a different mood and a different emotional quality on each cut.
We feel it's a nice blend of some of the strong points of avant-garde music and pop sensibility in its production techniques, and that it has a beat to it.
Walt, thanks for getting out of bed to come and be with us
There's
here
some
this
free
evening.
coffee down here.
It's about time, gentlemen, for for you to go into your next number. It's called Sahara with Delay Tactics.
The demand for
the record industry itself is pretty much dictating what happens with the market.
Couldn't they help you, though? Couldn't a large organization put this independent record out in every store and have everyone buy it?
If they feel they can use us.
What's their problem?
The problem is that much of the industry has fixed itself on a very tight horse blinder perspective of what they think the public wants. And they have their so-called experts tell them what kind of music is going to sell. And if you don't fit inside that perspective, then you have to work independently to try and develop the audience yourself.
And it's not necessarily what they want, it's what
sells.
What they'll sell them, yeah.
So you can either beat your head against that corporate door by sending demo tape after demo tape, and meanwhile you're growing older and older, or you can just do something yourself.
There are bands that seem to have succeeded that way. I'm thinking of many of the bands that are popular now. Talking Heads, B-52s.
The Police were out of IRS, which was an independent.
The Police is an excellent example of that. They're a band that built up their grassroots for several years before they finally found themselves with an enormous international audience.
Well, the independent record label movement is on its way up because the big corporate record industry is on its way down. They're looking for more and more kinds of music to sell and to develop and to bring to the audience, and it's become easier to produce records, it's become cheaper, it's become easier to get equipment, access to studio. None of it's, I mean, dirt cheap, like Instamatic cameras or anything like that, but it's record stores are becoming more and more accessible to selling your product, whereas before they wouldn't even touch you.
Well, I wish you all the success. We've been talking to Delay Tactics.